Top 25 look ahead. Number 1 Ohio State defeats number 17 Illinois 34-16 for its 8th consecutive win against an AP-ranked team. Number 4 Ole Miss survives a trap game against Washington State 24-21. The Rebels close as a 32.5-point favorite. Number 6 Oklahoma loses to Texas in the Red River rivalry as John Mateer returns from a broken hand, tossed a career-high 3 interceptions. Number 8 Alabama squeezes past number 14 Missouri 27-24. And number 7 Indiana defeats number 3 Oregon to earn its first road win against an AP Top 5 team in school history. Back here with Cardale Jones, Richard Johnson. Let's welcome in 24/7 Sports college football analyst Brad Crawford here to look ahead to the top 25 new poll released on Sunday. Brad, does Indiana take the number 3 ranking from Oregon?
I think they certainly will. I mean, going on the road, beating Oregon at Allison Stadium, something somebody hasn't done in 2.5 years. 18-game winning streak at home for the Ducks. Indiana did it despite throwing a pick 6 late in that game. For Mendoza to be able to bounce back, Hakeem, and then have that game-winning touchdown drive, add a field goal late. Very impressive performance from Indiana, posting its first road win against a top 5 team in program history. Indiana is a team right now that I think you can write in Sharpie as a playoff frontrunner, not only contender.
If Indiana jumps to 3rd in the AP poll, it would be their highest ranking in program history. Richard, what Curt Cignetti is doing in Bloomington, it's not rebuilding, it's building.
No, it's reloading. I think the most important thing about what Indiana's done is Curt Cignetti has come in, and the tone from him has changed this year. There's not all that much tough talk going on from Curt Cignetti. He's kind of just letting the team's performance do the talking here. There's no I win, Google me. There's no, there's no Purdue sucks and so does Michigan and Ohio State. He's just letting this team roll week in and week out. He didn't even really do many one-on-one interviews this week. I think he's letting this team do the talking for him, and they're talking pretty loud.
I'm calling him America's head coach.
I mean, that's not a bad way to put it. I mean, he's really good. I'm thinking that the way he got to Indiana, the road to get there and his commitment to that program now is something that's so much more relatable than a coach that's been handed the keys to a Ferrari. So Curt Cignetti, he's doing a great job with his team. And you look at how Indiana was the year before he got there, then clearly, only losing 2 games last year, making it to the college football playoffs, and then the jump that they've made this year so far. How do you continue to get better? I have no clue. Only Curt Cignetti and his crew can make that happen.
Well, the recipe for Curt Cignetti and Indiana score 20 points. They're 17-0 under Curt Cignetti when they score at least 20 points in a game. Another top 10 team goes down. Number 6 Oklahoma loses to Texas in the Red River rivalry as John Mateer returns from a broken hand, tosses a career-high 3 interceptions. Brad, what did this result mean for both schools? Because this was essentially a playoff eliminator for the Longhorns.
I think it was, and you saw Arch Manning and that Longhorns really talented elite defense with their backs against a wall play well today in the Cotton Bowl. And for Texas to win that game, I don't have Texas in my projected playoff bracket after week 7, but Texas is certainly a team that could get there based on what they have left. It was an impressive performance, especially coming off that road loss to Florida. Credit Steve Sarkisian for having that team ready to play against an Oklahoma team, frankly, that came in with one of the nation's best defenses. Maybe Brent Venables rushed John Mateer back to the field.
Yeah, Brett, I think the most interesting thing about this from Texas's perspective is they won this game. I guess gritty, not pretty is how you'd say it, right? Special teams, touchdown, defense loomed large, multiple takeaways from John Mateer. You're right, though. John Mateer clearly not at his best. I mean, look, if John Mateer had to play in this game, that means you know what they thought about what Michael Hawkins wasn't able to give them as a backup quarterback. So Mateer going in this game, even in a limited capacity, clearly not 100%. I'm clear Oklahoma figured they had to do that to give themselves a chance in this game, but it just wasn't there from Mateer in this game.
Yeah, I would have definitely loved to rest Mateer because you look at the rest of this Oklahoma schedule, it is brutal on that back end of that thing. So even with this one slip up to Texas, I don't think that really gives them a chance to say, hey, you're going to be out of the college football playoffs. You need your best, and your best need to be at their best when you get into this nitty gritty of their home stretch of their schedule. So I'd definitely try to rest Mateer and get him back as quick as possible when you talk about 100% versus going to this game, I would say about 60%.
Yeah, Oklahoma has Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, and LSU to end the season. Game next week against South Carolina, and also no slouch as well. All right, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee will release its first rankings on Tuesday, November 4th. We are getting closer and closer to that. Brad Crawford gives us his top 12 teams each and every week leading up to the CFP rankings. Brad, take us through your top 12 predictions for Sunday, because a lot of chaos has happened here in the top 10.
Yeah, Sunday's AP poll for Week 8, I expect Ohio State, Miami to stay 1-2 in those catbird seats up top. And then Indiana moving into the top 5 at number 3. Alabama 4 with its win at Missouri, previously unbeaten Tigers team. Missouri, by the way, was coming off an open date, and Eli Drinkwitz nearly unbeatable in that spot. Alabama was able to go to Missouri and win. Ole Miss played with its food a little bit against Washington State, 33-point favorite, and had to hold off the Cougars late in that game to win. They've got Georgia next week, big-time game in the SEC. And then rounding it out, I've got A&M at 6, Texas Tech, obvious Big 12 frontrunner at 7, then Georgia, Oregon, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech unbeaten right now in ACC play, one of 4 ACC teams right now without a conference loss.
I don't agree with Texas A&M losing a spot here against Florida. I think they should stay at 5. I think Ole Miss should slip down here, especially they had to hang on to win that game, Richard.
Yeah, against Washington State earlier today, and Texas A&M, quite frankly, handled business against a Florida team that was coming off the Texas game. Looked like they would be ready to play, and the Aggies really handled them. LSU not in the mix is interesting for me. I agree with Brad, honestly, but I think a lot of people are going to look at that with a side eye and say, huh? But LSU they haven't looked. I mean, even in this game, Garrett Nussmeier's hurt, offensive line's got issues, unable to run the ball. That defense is tremendous, but I agree with Brad in not having them in the top 12 here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this top 12, the 5 and the 6 is the confusing part for me, Brad, only because Ole Miss has a unique ability to play with their food and to play down to the level sometimes. So I would like to see them at 6 and A&M staying at 5, and then also from 10 and 11 switching at Oklahoma and Tennessee because of John Montier. I don't think he's as healthy as we need him to be to go on this stretch. So Tennessee for me is 11, Oklahoma is 10. No, switch that. Tennessee is 10 and Oklahoma is 11 for me, but everything else I agree with.
All right, Brad, last word.
Yeah, to Cardale's point, I have not had Oklahoma in my projected playoff bracket, the season-ending bracket, throughout the way because of that November schedule. I was expecting Oklahoma to lose at least one game before that season-ending stretch, and it came against Texas in a spot that I think Oklahoma had to have to make the playoffs. Certainly, Brent Venables' team still controls its own destiny, as Richard mentioned, but the problem with that is they still have to face Murderers Row in the SEC, and right now that offense isn't good enough to beat 4 or 5 ranked teams the rest of the way.
Well, it all is going to come down to the CFP rankings. We know that. This is just a conversation to get us tuned up for the CFP rankings. Brad Crawford, Richard Johnson, and Cardale Jones here on CBS Sports HQ. And here's a look at the odds to win the national title. Ohio State, number 1 in all of the land, the favorite to run it back, followed by Alabama and Miami. That's interesting, Cardale. The fact that Miami's plus 900, I'd have them with shorter odds, but look, I don't make the odds. Like, Miami's really, really good. You could make the argument that Miami's number 1 in the country. Probably not, because they play in the ACC. That's what people will say. Because Ohio State plays in the Big Ten, that's probably why they're 1-2 right now. But Ohio State with super short odds at plus 360.
Yeah, I think the determining factor is plus 900 for Miami, because we expect them to run the table in the ACC, and I think they're going to have a tough matchup either versus Louisville or Georgia Tech in the ACC championship, and that's going to be a tall tale of where they land in the rankings of the college football playoff, where you may have a lot tougher schedule to get to the national championship versus an Ohio State. If they run the table, number 1 seed if you went out in the Big Ten, or Alabama, number 1 seed if you went out in the SEC, and that schedule to getting back to the national championship game is a little easier for those guys.
My thing with Miami, I should say, my thing with Miami is the Canes would have an inside track to go to be a top 4 seed with an ACC championship victory.
Last school to win back-to-back natties, Georgia in 2021 and 2022.